Awesome. Here we are again. This is the Virtual Leadership Summit. I've been going all day. My throat's starting to sound like a nice, hoarse, mature, and sensual woman. But that is not what it's about today. Today, it's about the Leadership Summit for Seeking the Path. And as I said with my last interview, I really think maybe I misnamed this or missed an opportunity in naming this, because I think it might have been better to say sharing, no selling. We're not selling, we're sharing. We're telling you about our stuff. We're sharing our ideas. We're sharing our knowledge. I'm talking to all kinds of experts in all kinds of fields, all kinds of leaders. So this is a great place for you to get lots of information for free. So that's awesome. However, if you like what you're hearing, please buy my book. Please, pretty please, because it'll help you, actually. It's called The Seven Senses of Leadership, The Brain Broad's Guide to Leadership Training. I think I'm getting punchy here. The Brain Broad's Guide to Leadership Sensibilities. My name's Lynette Louise. I am the Brain Broad. This is the Leadership Summit. We have a fantastic guest coming up. Now, I've known Jeff for quite some time, and he's done some beautiful work in many fields. The part of his work that has most sort of hit my heart is the fact that he's involved in adoption, at least at a certain level. I'm going to let him explain it a bit more. But why that matters to me is because I adopted 6 of my 8 kids. So to me, once you've, sort of had one to sort of repopulate the earth, one for the woman, one for the guy, it's time to start adopting. But adopting is a really challenging world to sort of ferret out and find the right matches and figure out how it should be done. So Jeff's a great voice for that, but he's more than that. He's a lawyer. He's got a show on the Autism Channel. He's a leader. He's kind of wealthy. So I think he's the perfect guest to have on a leadership summit where we're trying to figure out what is the path to success. So let's say hello to Jeff Kasky.
Hi, Louise. How you doing?
Well, I'm good, but you've got my name backwards. Everyone does it.
Look, I haven't said your name 1,000 times in my life. That's sorry, my bad.
It's all good.
Do we retake?
No, because it gives me a great excuse to apologize to Sharon Burstein, who I'm actually running an event with and have interviewed and have known forever. And I always put an N in her name and call her Sharon Bernstein. But we can talk about brains for a second on that, and that'll lead into you. And that is that once you make a mistake, once you think something is there and your tongue knows it, or you've driven in the wrong driveway, or whatever it is that you've done, it's a lot harder to unmake that mistake, to change to what's correct. And so getting your path right is really important. And I think, Jeff, you're a good guest for that. So let's talk a little bit about your history so they know who you are.
Wow. Well, I was born in Washington, D.C. More recent history. I ran a nonprofit adoption agency for 20 plus years. And, as you mentioned, I have a show on the Autism Channel where your outstanding show is featured. But I also do some surrogacy law. I've written a few books, and there's more and more and more. But, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of talking about myself.
Okay, but we're gonna have to pry a little bit out of you, because that's a part of what's happening here. There's a lot of people trying to become successful, trying to follow their path, and they get so much information. And what I'd really like is you are a successful man. I mean, you've done really well. So
thank you for saying so.
You're welcome. So you know what I'll do? I'll start with the 3 questions I'm asking everyone else, and then we'll circle back and say, get some more personal story stuff that might help people to be inspired. So question 1, what is your definition of leadership?
Leadership is the ability to motivate people, to bring out the best in people, to help them realize that maybe they have some skills and abilities that they might not have automatically assumed that they had, and to put those together, to put a team together that works well together to accomplish a goal. To me, that's leadership.
That's awesome. What that reminds me of is that when I first entered the world of mental health, I was looking at all these expensive insurances, and I was learning all this stuff about ethics. And then I read this line that said the best insurance is having your clients love you. It was the best advice I ever got. I've just wrote a chapter for a book in it about that, because if we are ethical and fully put out and really care about the people that we lead, then they want to do what we, come up with. Don't you think?
And I guess if we make a little mistake somewhere along the way and it's something that's correctable, hopefully they're not going to run out to a plaintiff's lawyer. So some stranger can judge us when, everybody makes mistakes.
It's interesting that you say that, because you're a lawyer. So,
Right, but not that kind. I'm not the kind that people think of when they make the lawyer jokes. I'm basically, if anything, transactional. I don't sue people. I'm not saying I never have, but it's just not my practice. I'm also a mediator. So I'm a lover, not a fighter. I don't want to create problems. I want to help people get to some type of resolution that's at least somewhat amicable, if that's at all possible.
Right, and that proves that just because you enter a field, there are many paths, and you're always faced with the decision of which type do I want to be? And that's going to come up in question 3. But question 2 is, what's your definition of success?
Success is, I think it's very individual and it's very personal. By personal, I don't mean I'm not willing to tell you what mine is, but I think that it's different for everyone. It's funny, I had a conversation today with a colleague whose definition of success is making the most possible money. And he's good at it. He does a great job. In fact, he picked up lunch. But, great. For me, success is reaching goals. And, that's easy to say, but you have to set goals that mean something to you, that reflect your core values. And then once you reach them, you've been successful. For some people, it's a combination of making some money while at the same time helping people and helping the world heal itself or get better, or whatever their issue might be. For me, it was helping children in the foster care system and children who might otherwise have been in situations that weren't great, helping them find permanency with a great family. And more than most people about how that goes. Right now, for me, it's being the best parent I can be, being the best partner to my not yet wife I can be, and all those things. It's a combination of all that. But at the same time, you have to make a living.
Right.
Let's face it. So as long as you don't compromise your values along your way to making a living and achieving your goals that reflect your values, that to me is success.
That's awesome. That it brought up a thought for me too, though. So the person for whom money is the goal, when they achieve money, they've reached their goal, so they've been successful. But at the same time, if that is your only goal, how do you balance yourself? How do you create sort of an ethical forward momentum?
That's a good question. And I'll tell you what, I heard a story recently, and what I learned from the story is that some people just don't care as long as there's money. And the story was that a cousin of mine who's a lawyer, he's a cousin by marriage, had an uncle, and the uncle was a billionaire. And the uncle was a very well-known guy, as many billionaires are, and he was in the public eye. And he used to say to people, do you want to be rich? This is almost his way of validating himself. I can't quite figure out what the purpose of this was, but he'd say, do you want to be rich? And many people would say, yes, I want to be rich. And he'd say, if you see a homeless person on the street, and if you can't take the last dime out of their cup, then you don't deserve to be rich. And, I want to say, needless to say, this was not a beloved person. And when he died, there was not a lot of sadness. His own family, his own children, they just didn't like him. And there was probably some celebration in the community when he died.
Probably. So, did they benefit from his money?
Presumably. I know at least one of his kids who became very wealthy upon the passing of the father, and did great things with the money. Probably things that the father would never have wanted to do because they didn't involve creating more profit. They involved helping people selflessly. And that was where
funny. So in the end, he gave money to the homeless person.
he gave it back, whether he liked it or not. So, yeah, you know, if that's all you care about is money, you know, Tony Robbins has a quote, and I'm probably going to paraphrase this and slightly misquote it, but money isn't what you're seeking. Money is numbers on a piece of paper, on little green pieces of paper this big. That's what money is. What you want is the things that money can get for you. So if you can figure out a way to get the things that you want at the same time as creating the good feelings in yourself for how you're living, that's really more what you want, not piles of cash.
Right. And that makes me think of Gandhi, who said, you know, that he was able to do so much because he had very wealthy friends, but or something like that. I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
But another thought comes to me, and that is that you're well off. So I mean, you can name numbers
by some definitions, presumably.
Okay, but my question is, it's an easy place to sit in academic comfort or academic financial comfort and say, you know, it's not all about money, but it's another thing to be that homeless guy where it's about a meal. So where do you sit on that? Like, how do you find the balance between making sure that you do really well so that you're very comfortable, and at the same time, you know, remaining this person who understands that it's about something else as well? Because if you only think the one way, you won't have money.
Well, you know, that's a good question. I like the Catholic concept of tithing. I'm not a religious guy myself, but when I get involved in a new endeavor, whether it be one of the books that I've written or just a new project that someone asks me to join or that I want to join, if there's not a charitable element to the project, that's the end of the story. I'm not involved. So I shoot for the 10%. I like when 10% of the profits of a successful endeavor go to charity, to some type of charity, but carefully vetted charity, not just any charity. So that to me is where it starts and ends. If there's not a charitable purpose attached to a project, then there's no point in doing it.
I really like that, because you're the first person that really answered that clearly with a number, you know, that somebody can just go, okay, so if I do 10%, then I'm doing this beautiful thing in the world, and the rest is trying to be profitable. And everybody else has sort of left us in the place of, you know, most of the time you should be nice, right? Or most of the time you should be trying to do the recipe. I like 10/90. That seems right.
Well, thanks for saying so. Maybe the reason that I had it available to me so quickly is I just came from a meeting where I'm talking about a new project, and that's exactly the conversation we had. And that's where I started the conversation. And I said, I'll tell you what, I love this project. And it's something that I'm looking forward to getting involved in. But step one is I need you to agree that this is going to happen. And the person with whom I was speaking came from the same place. So that is absolutely going to happen. And I think it's probably needless to say, and you know, Lynette, that the majority of the beneficiaries of that hopefully the profits in that project will be somewhere on the autism spectrum, one way or the other.
Right. And it's an exciting project, and whenever you get to it, right? Okay, so the last of the three questions is, you've sort of talked about it a little bit. Since there are two possible paths, how would you describe the creation of the path, or the path itself to success? So you're this guy or this gal, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I now want to help in the world of foster parenting. I just saw things I don't like. I want to make a difference. Now what?
I think it's for most people who are able to successfully navigate that journey, it comes from within. And a lot of times they really don't even, I don't want to say don't have to ask that question. For a lot of people, it comes naturally. Presumably for some, it doesn't, and that's fine as long as they're headed in that direction. And what I would say is, you know, get involved with an organization that reflects your values on that issue. If your issue is homelessness or foster care, whatever it is, if there's an organization that somehow has some affinity with other areas of your life. For example, a religious organization that, I'll give you an example, JAFCO. My heritage is Jewish. I'm not religious. JAFCO is Jewish Adoption and Foster Care Options. And it's based here in South Florida. They also, although they're nominally a Jewish agency, they work with the entire community. And they don't turn people away based on any category or criteria. So that's consistent with my values. And consequently, I do some work with them and have done over the years a lot of work with JAFCO. If somebody woke up in the morning and decided they wanted to become more involved in helping foster care children, they can start with literally Googling foster care, foster care nonprofits in their area, their zip code, and then sort of vet them down to the ones that have the same values as they do. Then they have to pass a sniff test. If you go in and talk to people and it just doesn't smell right, you're probably right. And there's plenty of options out there. There's a lot of options of ways to do nice things in the community. You may find that when I say you, I don't mean you, Lynette, because you know.
You.
But others may find that they felt like their heart may have been in foster care, but then one thing leads to another, and they all of a sudden want to help out a no-kill animal shelter. You know, you never know. As long as you're doing something to add value to the planet, whatever that may be, and working with an organization that reflects who you are on the inside, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that you called it the sniff test, mainly because it gives me a chance to plug my book again. But I did the 7 senses, right? And I call smell the odor of a door, because you want to smell adoration. You want to go, this is yummy. I like it here. And if you go, ew, that's no.
Unfortunately, when I've referred to the sniff test, I've never referred to it in a positive way. I've never thought of anything smelling good. It's always been if it smells like a dumpster full of fish that's been sitting there for a week. You know, it's just, you know, if it smells bad and seems bad, it probably is bad. But I never really thought about it the other way. But there's a distinction that you gave me on this call. So I appreciate it.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's not just because when we only look for what smells bad, we wait till it hits us. But when we look for what smells good, we're seeking to understand with all our senses. And I think that's extremely valuable. So
do I get to plug my books?
Yeah, I'm about to do that. Just 1 second. Because you mentioned my show, I realize I haven't mentioned it, and so we probably should name it, and you're going to name yours too. So on the Autism Channel, I have a show, and it's called Fix It in 5, and its purpose is to go all over the world and pick 5 families in different locations in the world with different, different cultures, different situations, and different size families, and then work with someone who has autism and something else, so autism and seizures, autism and the mom's depressed, autism, whatever. And so I take cameras with me. I've made a docu-series out of it. I haven't done the yucky reality series stuff, so you actually have to learn and enjoy yourself while you do it. So that's what Jeff was referring to, and I advise you to go to the Autism Channel and check it out. You can check out my show, and you can check out Jeff's. Now it's your turn to plug your show and also plug your books. Talk about them a little bit and tell them how to get a hold of you.
You got it. Okay, well, as far as the Autism Channel goes, the most common comments I've ever heard are, wow, I didn't know there was an Autism Channel, and how do I get it? The answer is yes, there is an Autism Channel. It's also addresses other developmental disabilities, but that was too long to put on the t-shirt, so we just went with the Autism Channel. And it's available, it's free. It's streaming live, not live, on demand 24/7. Right now, as we sit here and speak, the Autism Channel is streaming. On demand, you get to call up whatever show you want. I personally recommend Lynette's show. My show is a little on the dry and boring side, but it's called, what's called again, Spectrum at Law. Spectrum at Law, so the Autism Spectrum and Law. I have a co-host whose name is Mark Rosen. He's another lawyer here in South Florida with a child on the spectrum, as I have. And we address legal issues as they relate to the spectrum. You can get it on Roku. Roku is a fairly well-known streaming service. You walk into any Walmart, Target, and if you go on eBay, you could probably find one used for $20, and there's no reason to buy a new one if you can buy a used one. It's called recycling. And once you get on Roku, you just sign up and you subscribe to the Autism channel. Again, 100% free, and double your money back on Tuesdays. So that's the Autism channel. Now the books, in 2012, I wrote a book called 99 Things You Wish You Knew Before Choosing Adoption. But for some reason that I'll never understand, that became a bestseller, a #1 bestseller on Amazon in late 2015 out of the blue. So on the strength of that book, the American Bar Association, biggest group of lawyers in the world, came to me and commissioned 2 other books. One is called A Consumer's Guide to Adopting, and one is called, they took out the word consumer because of complaints, because people don't like the word consumer when it comes to children. Nobody was consuming children. It was consuming legal services. But so the second one is called ABA Guide, no consumer, to assisted reproductive technology. And so the first one's about adoption. The first one, the 99 series one, is about adoption. It's got some great stories, true stories about adoption, and it's easy reading and it's fun. And I think it'll cost you all of $4 on Amazon right now. So you go to Amazon and you put in the search box Kasky, Kasky, and the word adoption, and those books will come up. The second one is the ABA's Adoption Guide, and that's another. I enjoyed writing that book, and I think you'll enjoy reading it. And then lastly, the Assisted Reproduction book. That's surrogacy, IVF. Egg donation, sperm donation, all those sorts of things are addressed in that book. That just came out 2 or 3 weeks ago. And from what I'm told, although we're waiting for the figures, it's the fastest selling book on the American Bar Association Consumer Guide. So yeah, glad for that. And that, again, you just go to Amazon and type in Kasky, Kasky, and then I guess assisted reproduction or something, surrogacy maybe, and the book will pop up. So people seem to like them. They were fun to read. I'll tell you what, they save you $350 of legal fees for the few bucks that you lay down for the book. And that's why we wrote them.
And you write really interestingly. It was, I only read the first one so far, but I loved every minute of it. I was really enjoying every second, even as I learned. How fascinating, what a concept. Have them enjoy themselves while they learn. All right.
Thank you for saying so. I'll tell you what, we gave our editors fits, because some of the stuff that we had to talk about in the world of adoption, is not safe for work. And we don't pull any punches. The American Bar Association is a little on the conservative side. So if I ever come to town and I'm speaking to a group, nobody edits me. So that's how I prefer to tell my stories.
That's beautiful. I love it. All right, gorgeous. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Is there any last words that you want to share before I say goodbye?
I just want to thank you for everything you do for so many people, starting within your very own family, and then just branching out to the rest of the planet. And I know that if we had communications with other planets, they would all know you, and and you'd probably have some of their children and be able to raise them. But you're just a great person, and it's an honor to know you.
Well, thank you, Jeff. I'm back at you. All right. This has been the Virtual Leadership Summit. I'm Lynette Louise, the Brain Broad. This was Jeff Kasky, and I will see you at the next segment.